You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. And be sure to smash that like button. We started the show talking about the two commitments that LSU got on the 4th of July. Over the weekend, the Tigers did, however, miss on a trio of prospects. And I hate to say, you lost a guy. You can't, it's just in a literal sense, you can't lose something you never had. But you can miss, or I think it's just a way, maybe it's just semantics, but a way of talking about this and the prospects that are out there. The one that was surprising was J.J. Bush. J.J. Bush is a linebacker out of the state of Alabama, and this is a guy that Blake Baker had really zeroed in on. In our Tuesday chats with Shea Dixon every week, he had been here. We talked a lot about J.J. Bush. He was, crystal balled or recruiting prediction machine, whatever. All that was pointing LSU. He, throughout the process, had really identified LSU as his leader. And so when J.J. Bush, it was down to LSU, Arkansas, and Missouri. And so when J.J. Bush, a 6'3", 205-pound linebacker, picked Arkansas, it was a big surprise to a lot of people in the recruiting world. Now, just a little bit of the bio here. He's a 4-star, number 370 nationally, the 28th best linebacker, the number 15 player in Alabama. He's ranked as high as this number 16 linebacker in the country by 24/7. But most importantly, this is a guy that Blake Baker really wanted. They identified J.J. Bush as the guy he wanted, and unfortunately, you missed on him. He picked Arkansas. And I know the very natural, obvious question is, okay, well, why, if you're J.J. Bush and you have the opportunity to go to Arkansas, Missouri, or LSU, and Blake Baker wants you, why in the world would you pick Arkansas? Well, I think we all know the answer. And this isn't they paid him more, where you hem and haw. That is the answer. And every recruiting decision now has some component of NIL rev share. But I think what you're seeing here in particular is the differentiation with NIL and rev share. Let me explain. We understand what those two buckets are, right? NIL is name, image, and likeness. This is what your brand is worth in marketing deals, not what NIL was, which was pay for play. I'm talking about now. Remember, every NIL deal over $600 has to go to a clearinghouse. It has to be market value. The other, rev share, is the $20.5 million, a percentage of which each athletic department is going to give to their football team to distribute to their student athletes. So at LSU, that number is near $14 million. So LSU is going to take that $14 million in rev share and divide it up among its scholarship players. So the question is, what percentage of that number is J.J. Bush worth at LSU compared to Arkansas? So if J.J. Bush picks LSU and they view him as like the 64th best player on the roster, but Arkansas views him as the 28th best player, I'm just saying hypothetically, well, that's a differentiation in the numbers. And so you take the higher number if you're J.J. Bush, which is very likely what happened here. He identified LSU as his leader. LSU wanted him. We've talked a lot about linebackers as well. Listen, next year you're losing Witt, West, Harold Perkins. You've got numbers coming back, but no experience. You've got Devon Keys who will be back in 26. Tylen Singleton will be back in 26. And you just signed 5 linebackers in the class of 2025. Zach Weeks, C.J. Jim Coyley, Keelan Moses, Jaden Breaker, and C.J. Ross. So you'll have 7 linebackers eligible to return in 2026, but aside from Devon Keys, none of them have any experience. So there's a pretty wide open door to playing time, in theory. So why would you go somewhere else? Because they value you higher in their rev share breakdown. I've looked at LSU's ledger. What happens? They basically have assigned a percentage of that rev share to the position group. So, for example, if the whole roster is a pie, let's say quarterback is 18% and offensive line is 13%. I'm just using numbers hypothetically, right? And it breaks down the pie by position, and whatever that dollar amount is, then you break it down by player within that position. So all that to say, yeah, there's going to be situations like this where a team values a prospect greater in its rev share model than another team. And so the prospect will go to the place that puts a greater value on them in the rev share. That's what happened here very clearly with J.J. Bush. The other two prospects that LSU missed out on, one of them was a bummer. Booby Feaster, who is a guy from Louisiana, who right now is playing in DeSoto, Texas. And he ends up picking Southern Cal. And it's certainly disappointing because this is one of the top receivers in the country who's got ties to Louisiana. You recruited him hard. He is a reclassify, by the way. He was a 27 guy that reclassified to 2026. And even in reclassifying, he's still the number 45 overall prospect in the country, the fifth best receiver for 2026. Similar thing with receivers, right? Like, you're going to lose Aaron Anderson, Nick Anderson, Xavier Thomas, Barry and Brown, Chris Hilton. I mean, you're losing all these guys. You're going to have numbers. You're going to have Kyle Parker and Phillip Wright and Kylan Billiot and Jelani Watkins and Teron Francis. Maybe Destin Hill comes back. You have numbers, but you're not necessarily going to have experience, skins on the wall at that position. Linebacker and receiver are going to be very similar in 2026. But was the most interesting thing, there was an interview that Boobie Feaster did after he picked Southern Cal, and he talked about his relationship with Jakeem Stewart. And he talked about how they were both from New Orleans and how he talks to Jakeem Stewart all the time. And remember Jakeem Stewart's story. You know, played 1 year of high school football in Louisiana. He had to sit out his first year when he went to St. Aug. Played his sophomore year. Junior year, as he's trying to reclassify, transfers to Edna Carr. He's ineligible. So he plays 1 year of high school football, but ends up committing to and signing with Southern Cal because Southern Cal paid him $2 million a year. LSU's number hovered just north of $1 million. I think the number was $1 million too, if I remember correctly in my notes. But the point is, this is another thing where it comes down to finances. And, I mean, maybe somebody should have had the conversation with Boobie Feaster about state income tax in California, which is going to absolutely annihilate his NIL and rev share number. But to each their own. It's just part of this. I can look at Feaster looking and going, yeah, and also in this receiving class where you've got Tristan Keys and Jabari Mack and Kenny Darby already committed, and the 6 names I mentioned coming back, it's going to be a bit of a logjam. And if someone's offering you more money, I understand it. But it's a very similar path that Feaster's following, that Jakeem Stewart followed as well. And the third is Emmanuel Ionacho, the big 5-star offensive tackle who picked Oregon. He's from Maryland. He came up to LSU on an official visit. He's the number 4 overall player in the country, not the number 4 offensive lineman. The number 4 overall player. He's only the number 2 offensive tackle because Jackson Cantwell, the number 1 overall prospect in the country, is also an offensive lineman who's committed to Miami, by the way. The best thing about this is just, look, if you're not going to pick LSU, fine, go somewhere far away. Go to Oregon to where we never have to see you again. So that felt like a bit of an uppercut to the upper deck to see if you can connect and take your big swing on one of the big-time prospects. You didn't land him. Who's to say it may not change by the time signing day gets here in December. But it is interesting because Brian Kelly has signed a 5-star offensive lineman in every class since he's been here. Will Campbell, Lance Hurd, Weston Davis, and then this year, Carius Kern and Solomon Thomas. So work to do to find that 5-star offensive tackle for the class of 2026. But one of the big ones there, Emmanuel Iheanacho, off the board as he picks Oregon. So Tigers on 14 commits for the class of 2026. A lot of time still between now and signing day in December. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.